Hello everyone and welcome for the very first time to rFactor 2. I picked this sim up a couple of months ago, but I've never had the opportunity to race it until now. Low Fuel Motorsport's recent announcement that it was testing rFactor 2 on its platform has created quite a buzz within the sim racing community, so I thought I'd hop on and see what it's all about. For my first ever race in this sim, I've entered the Alpine Rookies Cup at Lime Rock Park, a fast and stressful circuit if ever there was one. There are 22 drivers lining up on the grid and I'll be slap bang in the middle of them. I've qualified 12th with a time of 53.1. Pole position man Carl Magnus Bohr is almost 1 second quicker, so I may not be challenging for any podiums this time around, but on a track as quick and as tight as this, well, anything could happen. So it's going to be a learning experience, that's for sure, and straight away I've got to get used to not having lights to start the race. Instead, we've got to listen for the horn. And there it is, so we're underway at Lime Rock Park and we actually get away pretty well, a lot better than Alex Racing did from 10th on the grid. Alex was right in front of us, we had to swerve out into the middle to get around him. Now we've got to get back onto the inside, hoping that we don't clip anyone on the outside of us through this tricky turn one. And there's a big cloud of dust in the rearview mirror, so I'm guessing we've had some casualties through T1. Thankfully, we're not one of them. We've managed to pick up one position, so we're up to 11th. We may have a sniff of 10th here because Javier Savinho is a little bit off pace coming down the straight. We can move to the outside. I don't think we're going to get round him here because the next turn is a right-hander when we go up the hill and over the jump for the first time. And I'm already worrying that this could get really tricky. I feel like I'm driving blind with such a limited HUD. In Race Room and ACC, I like using the radar. In iRacing, I have the spotter, but here we've got none. So I'm going to have my wits about me. I need to be aware of what's going on around me at all times. I'm going to be relying on the mirror a lot as we finish lap 1. We're in 11th position. Half a second is the gap to Savinho in 10th. And there's a big crash in T1. That's Matthias Bartosek, who's tumbled out of 7th position in spectacular fashion. So that's promoted us into the top 10. This is an encouraging start. Right, let's check out some highlights from the first lap and a bit. We made a pretty decent start there, immediately swerving out to the middle of the circuit to try and get around Alex Van Hille. Van Hille was really sluggish off the line there. And thankfully we made it back to the inside line because look what happened right behind me. 3 wide into turn 1 and 2 of the 3 ended up on the grass. And the rest of the lap was relatively tidy, but it unravelled spectacularly at the start of lap 2 for Matthias Bartosek. Here he is on the inside trying to take 2 positions, but he just gets squeezed onto the curb and that flips his car into a barrel roll. So an action-packed start to life in rFactor 2. Can we build on this 10th position? Let's get back to the live action and find out. So we're just starting lap 3 and there are no signs yet that the field is going to spread out. There's currently 1.2 seconds separating Joe Lawrence in 8th from Juan Angel Perez in 12th. I'm slap bang in the middle of this pack. I'm in 10th. Around the left-hander, into the right-hander, just 0.2 of a second now to Savinho in front. There's a cloud of dust. Has someone come to grief? Yes, that was Noah Pereira in the barrier and another car rejoining, Hode Ura. Ura's tucked right back in behind me. He actually started from the front row of the grid. Ura was second fastest in qualifying and one of the favourites for this race. We've gained 2 positions there. We're up to 8th. However, we may be surrendering one of those positions before very long because Ura is right behind us and looking menacing, and if his qualifying time is anything to go by, he's almost a second faster than me around this track. And he's picked up a bit of toe, he's moved to the inside, so he's sizing up and moving to T1. I think I'll just let him go because I know he's so much quicker than me. Right, let's see what caused that incident. Watch Noah Pereira, he's the car in front and he's just going to clip the grass, then he's going to lose control. Ura's right behind him, he's got nowhere to go. He does fantastically well to avoid hitting Pereira, but he does hit the barrier instead. This is the on-board from Ura's view. Look what little time he's got to react here. He makes the decision to swerve, but that sends him into the grass and he bounces off the barrier. Ura's lost a number of positions there. The last of the cars to go through is me. That's me in front. However, I wasn't going to stay in front of him for long because he made a move up the inside into T1 and I was happy to let him have it. Lap 4 now and we're going to gain another position. If you glance to the leaderboard bottom right, we're going to get promoted from 9th to 8th, and that's because of a disconnect for the pole position man and race leader Carl Magnus Bohr. So bitterly disappointing for Bohr, who was odds-on favourite to win this race, but everyone else on track has been promoted a position. That means we're back into 8th and we're just about hanging on to Ura in front as well. Just 0.2 of a second. However, I don't think I'm going to be able to make a move here because Ura is considering a move of his own up the inside on Savinho. This is the same move he pulled on me. He's not able to make it stick this time though. He runs wide and he takes Savinho with him, and that promotes us up into 6th position. Yeah, turn 1 here at Lime Rock Park is so hard to apex if you're trying to brake a little bit later. That's what Ura was trying to do, but he runs it in too hot, takes Savinho with him, and will gratefully pick up 2 places there. We're up into 6th. So having lost a few drivers, by the time we got to the start of lap 7, the field was finally starting to spread out, and I was beginning to make a little bit of a break from Alex Van Hille behind. And if you look in the rearview mirror, Van Hille gets out onto the grass and T1, there's a cloud of dust and he is gone. Yeah, we only just mentioned the challenges that turn 1 brings, and this is another one. When you run out a little bit wide, the second that you get 2 tyres on the grass, it's game over. And sure enough, just 1 lap later, we see another driver make exactly the same mistake. The yellow flags are out. Who's gone this time? It looks like it might be Duarte Gennaro, who was fighting for the top 3. Gennaro's rejoined right in front of Lawrence. Lawrence trying to go around the outside, around this left-hander. He's going to have the inside now for the right-hander. Can he make it stick? No, he's not quite close enough. Gennaro holds on to 4th place, just Lawrence in 5th, and I'm now right behind in 6th. I've completely wiped out Lawrence's advantage. That's turned out perfectly for us. Well, maybe not perfectly. It would have been perfect if Gennaro had rejoined behind us and given us another position. That's not to be, but it has closed the pack right together now. And the gap back to Savinho in 7th is now 1.6 seconds, so I've got a little bit of breathing room behind. So the question is, can I keep up with these 2 faster guys in front? Well, before we find out the answer to that question, let's go back and check out the replay to see what happened to Gennaro. He's going to come under assault into T1 here. I suspect that spooked him a little bit, caused him to miss his apex, and there, once again, he gets out onto the grass and there's no saving it. Rejoining the live action at the end of lap 12, and as suspected, I am struggling to keep up with these 2 guys. I know they're quick, but the gap is just beginning to open up a little bit. Joe Lawrence in front, now 0.5 of a second ahead. On a more positive note, look at that gap back to Savinho in 7th. It's now 3 seconds, so we are clearing off from the rest of the field here. Oh, and look at Gennaro in front. He got in a right mess into T1. He clipped the curb on the inside, took a bit of the grass too. Crucially, Lawrence had to get on the brakes to avoid running into him, so that is going to bring us right back into play, although we don't get that left-hander at all right. It's put us offline for the right-hander, so any advantage we were going to gain there, we blew it. So let's jump forward a couple of laps. We're returning to the live action at the end of lap 15. We're still struggling to keep up with Lawrence. 0.5 of a second, still the gap. However, suddenly we get a glimmer of hope. We're starting to reel him in. We must have found a slightly quicker line through that final turn because the gap's down to 0.2 of a second and we should be right on his tail by the time we reach turn 1, and we are. So what can we do about this then? Have we got enough left in the locker to challenge for a top 5 finish? There's still 6 minutes of this race to go. There's still time to launch an attack, but catching Joe Lawrence is one thing. Getting past him around Lime Rock Park will be another proposition entirely. There's got to be so little difference between our lap times at the moment. I do feel a little bit quicker through here. We take a bit of the curb on the inside, up over the jump. We're still within touching distance here. 0.3 of a second as we approach the final 2 corners of lap 16. And I tell you what, this race is getting intense. There's absolutely no time for rest around Lime Rock Park. And I'm trying my hardest to put Lawrence under some pressure. We've got a great run out of the final turn. Lawrence is going to defend the inside line. We've got no choice but to go out wide. I can't see us making the pass around the outside through T1, so we'll tuck back in behind him, right behind him. We almost touch. And Joe Lawrence has got to be feeling the pressure now. We are swarming all over the rear end of that Alpine. And what's the clock looking like? We've still got more than 5 minutes to go, so it's less than a minute a lap around here, so we've still got 5, probably 6 laps to go. Another worry is who's behind us. Ura, we saw him crash out at T1 earlier. We know he's quicker than us, possibly up to a second a lap quicker because he started on the front row, so he has still got time in this race to reel us in, so we might yet come under pressure from behind too, but at the moment it's all about pressure on Lawrence. We get close again, we almost touch, and you know what, I think I might have got too close because that's cost us speed through the final turn and we've given him a bit of time back. Yeah, absolutely sensational racing here, but this was the moment we got a little bit too close and lost some time. Well, I said at the start of the race it felt like I was driving blind without my radar or spotter. It's just got a whole lot worse because my leaderboard bottom right that showed the relative times to the cars in front and behind has disappeared. I've got a pit alert, presumably because my tyres are going off, and now I can't get it back, so I've got no idea what the times are. As I say that, there's carnage in front. Gennaro was off track. Joe Lawrence has got around him. We're right on Gennaro's tail now. We had to navigate a batter marker as well. Thankfully, he got out of the way. He must have been terrified seeing us three charging along. But it's all changed in front now. Joe Lawrence up to 4th. Duarte Gennaro down to 5th. We're still in 6th. I've got no idea what the gap is now without my relative board, but we can see it's close. It's got to be within half a second. It'll be even less than that now because we're going to pick up a toe from Gennaro. Can we make a move? He's not going to defend, so that gives us the opportunity to make a move on the inside. I've got to keep it tight. The car's sliding. We just about managed to hold on. We've taken the position, but no, Gennaro's going to fight back on the inside. He takes 5th position back. Just when I thought this race couldn't get any more intense, it's raised another notch. Right, let's go back a lap. This is where Gennaro got it all wrong through the right hand and just runs it in a bit too hot. He's out onto the grass at this point. Joe Lawrence gets through, but I'm not quite able to. However, at the start of the next lap, I gritted my teeth and I went for it up the inside into T1, but as we can see from the replay, I was on the verge of being out of control. I ran it in really hot. Gennaro, to his credit, anticipated it and he tucked it back up the inside. Yeah, big respect to Gennaro there. He anticipated that I was running it in a bit hot and it was his quick thinking that prevented us both crashing out, so I'm thankful to him for that. But I don't feel like my hopes of a 5th position are over quite yet. We've still got a couple more laps to go. We're going to close in on Gennaro through this final turn. We both hit that curve on the inside. We're both onto the grass. Can we hold it? Thankfully, yes, we can. Both of us are back on the track. I don't quite know how, but that was a fright. I felt sure for a moment then that we were going to end our race prematurely in the barrier. Thankfully, we got away with it. Watch this. If ever there's an example of copying someone else's mistake, this is it. Gennaro clobbers that curb on the inside. I do exactly the same and we're out in tandem onto the grass at full speed. More big air time over the jump. I'm amazed I haven't lost it there. We've done that 21 times now without crashing. That's a miracle in itself. We're right on Gennaro's tail. We fade a move to the inside. That one wasn't really on, but I'm just trying anything I can at the moment to spook the driver in front. I think that might be the only way we can get around him. Now, I had thought that this was going to be the last lap, but looking at the clock, there's still time for 2 more, so our hopes of a top 5 finish aren't over yet, and there's a little gap up the inside. Is there room to squeeze through? Gennaro just missed the apex. There wasn't much room, but there was enough room, and we've got 5th position with a lap and a half still to go. Can we defend it? That's the question now. But yeah, I was fast running out of opportunities, and when Gennaro left that smallest of gaps, I thought I had to go for it, and we managed to squeeze through and take that 5th position. Returning to the live action on the final lap. There's a bit of breathing room behind now, so we're going to get this 5th place. And what a race, an absolutely grueling battle for the whole 20 minutes. It's been exhausting, but wait a minute, it could get better. Someone has run out of fuel. Just yards from the line, that was Martin Smith by the looks of it. Incredibly, we're going to finish 4th. Well, if all rFactor 2 races are going to be as incredible as this, consider me impressed. That was a fantastic race. I never expected to be anywhere near the top 5, never mind in it, so I've got to be happy with that. And as an added bonus as well, I didn't realise that this race will count towards my LFM licence. So this is my 10th rookie race. Anyone who's been following my progression in Assetto Corsa Competizione will know I've been working towards this, and this should mean I can graduate from rookies and have my pick of the races in ACC from now on. But as for rFactor 2, well, it's a big thumbs up from me. Thoroughly enjoyed this race. I still need to do a bit of work on the HUD. I don't want my relative board disappearing with a few laps to go again, and I'd also love a radar, or maybe it's just time to give Crew Chief a try. But do let me know your thoughts and recommendations for rFactor 2. I'd love to hear from you, and thanks ever so much for watching this one. Hopefully, I'll be back in this sim again very soon for another race that's as good as this one. Cheers for now.